Hey, what's up guys? Scott here from Mobile Install Guide, and in this video we're finally installing the Big 3 upgrade on the Subaru. Now, quick note before we get started, if you don't already know what the Big 3 upgrade is, head over to mobileinstallguide.com and check out the blog post where I've written about what the Big 3 upgrade is, what the benefits are, and how to install it. And if you want to take a closer look at some of the parts that we'll be using to do this install, I'll leave a link in the description for a video that I did where we take a look at the parts, we unbox it, look at what comes inside, and we take a look at a couple of the more specialized tools that you'll need to get the install job done. So let's get started. We're going to take the battery out so we can get a closer look at the area that we're going to be working in. Alright, so now that we got the battery out, let's take a look at the wires that we're going to be upgrading. The first one that we see here is the chassis to the negative battery terminal. You can see it's got one end tied to the chassis here, the other end goes to the negative battery terminal. And just to give you an idea of how much of an upgrade this is going to be, take a look at how small the factory wire is compared to the 1/0 cable that we're going to be adding to it. Should be a pretty significant upgrade. Now moving over here, we've got the alternator. This is the positive charging post of the alternator. So we're going to connect a wire right here, run it all the way over to the positive battery terminal. And then the last of the big 3 is the engine ground. This one's a little bit hard to see, but we've got this wire right here, ties to the chassis. The other end ties to a bracket on the transmission. Okay, the first wire I'm going to work on is going to be this chassis to battery cable. I'm going to remove the bolt, get the area cleaned up, remove the paint, and get it prepped for the new wire. Just to clarify a couple of the things that I did there, I used a wire brush attachment for my drill to remove the paint around the area that I'm going to make a connection. That gives us a nice solid connection to bare metal. And then I applied some dielectric grease to the bare metal that's still exposed to keep it from corroding. So now let's move on to the next connection, which is going to be our alternator charging wire. So I want to bring you guys in for a quick update on what I'm working on. When I took the factory wire off of this alternator post, there's this plastic ring around it that sticks up a bit, and the ring terminal on the new wire is so large that it didn't fit inside that ring, so it didn't allow me to get a good solid connection down on the battery post or the alternator post. So what I did is I took my utility knife and just shaved down on the top of this ring until it was nearly flush. It still sticks up a little bit, but what I'm going to end up doing is I'll mount the factory wire on bottom upside down, so that'll fit in there nicely, and now that'll give me enough space to get the new ring terminal on top of that, and I won't have any gap between the terminals. I don't want to have any gap on the terminals because that'll give us the potential for arcing, and we don't want that. Alright, so that's 2 connections down. I was able to get a really solid connection after removing the plastic on that ring down there, and I was really happy to be able to get this factory rubber boot back on here because the terminal sits so close to this intake manifold. I don't want any potential for anything shorting out in the future. So for right now, as you can see, I'm just leaving everything kind of hanging loose over by the battery. I'll get to that when we connect up the battery terminals. That'll be the last thing. But for right now, it's time to get to the engine ground strap. All right, so now that we got all the connections made in the car, it's time to get the battery back in and get it all hooked up. All right, guys, we're all wrapped up on the Big 3 upgrade. I hope this video helps you out. I still have a little bit of work to do extending a couple of grounds to get better fit at the battery, but I can do that another time. I'm pretty beat. I spent a lot of time getting all this stuff recorded, so if you wouldn't mind, do me a huge favor, smash that like button, leave me a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.